They will test your emotions first, not your strength, not your logic. They'll insult you, lie to you, betray you, just to see if they can make you react. Because the moment you react, you lose. Emotion is the leash of the weak. Control is the weapon of the strong. A man who cannot control his emotions is already controlled by someone else. This world isn't kind. It's a chessboard built on manipulation, strategy, and dominance. Empathy is exploited. Anger is bait. And feelings, they are the tools your enemies use to destroy you from within. The ruthless don't feel. They observe. They don't react. They calculate. They don't chase peace. They command order. You think being emotional makes you human. Number, it makes you predictable. And the predictable man dies first. In a ruthless world, logic is armor, composure is currency, and silence is power. So remember this and comment it below. I control before I feel. Say it again. I control before I feel. That's the difference between prey and predator, between being broken and becoming untouchable. This world doesn't care how you feel. It only respects what you control. Emotions are noise. Power is silence. The more you react, the weaker you look. The more you explain, the less they listen. The world doesn't reward emotion. It punishes it. You were taught to open your heart, to trust, to forgive, but this world feeds on that. It studies your kindness, then uses it to break you. The moment you show too much emotion, you show where to hit. That's why the ruthless never reveal their hearts. They reveal only results. Understand this. Life isn't fair. It's strategic. The game is not played with sympathy, but with control. The emotional man reacts. The disciplined man decides. That's the difference between being ruled and ruling. Anger, love, jealousy. These are chains. Once you wear them, someone else holds the key. They don't have to defeat you. They just have to provoke you. Because the moment you react, you hand them control. The world doesn't respect emotions. It respects composure. When others break, you remain still. When others shout, you stay silent. That silence? It terrifies people more than rage ever could. The powerful never beg to be understood. They don't explain. They observe. They adapt. They calculate. Because every second spent defending yourself is a second spent losing power. Most people chase approval. The wise chase advantage. Respect is not given. It's taken through restraint. The world belongs to the calm, not the kind. To the strategic, not the sentimental. You're not living in a peaceful world. You're surviving in a psychological battlefield. The emotional fall first. The composed walk over them. So remember this. Emotion is luxury. Control is survival. Comment this and remember it. Calm is my weapon. Control is my crown. Emotion is the weakness the world uses to control you. It makes you impulsive. It clouds your judgment. It turns a king into a fool in seconds. Every downfall begins with an emotional decision. Anger, love, jealousy, fear. Emotion is the assassin that kills your empire from within. Power demands clarity, and clarity only lives in calm minds. You cannot think strategically while you're bleeding emotionally. The man who reacts loses sight. The man who observes gains control. Every time you act from emotion, you trade strength for satisfaction, and satisfaction fades. Control doesn't. They will try to trigger you, with words, with silence, with betrayal, not because they hate you, but because they want to own your reaction. The moment you explode, you confirm their power. The moment you stay still, you take it back. Remember, the strongest retaliation is composure. Silence humiliates louder than rage ever could. Emotion makes you predictable. And the predictable man is easy to manipulate. The calm man becomes mysterious, unreadable, untouchable. The world fears what it cannot read. That's why your calm is not weakness, it's strategy. Your stillness is not emptiness, it's control. A man ruled by emotion becomes his own enemy. He fights ghosts, not battles. He argues with fools, not opponents. Power is lost in every outburst, every rant, every desperate move. The powerful don't show emotion because they understand one thing. When you master your feelings, you master the game. So the next time they try to provoke you, don't respond, don't explain, don't defend. Just look them in the eyes and do nothing. That moment of silence will burn their ego alive, because nothing frightens the emotional more than the one who cannot be moved. Comment this to remember it. Emotion obeys me. Power serves me. Every time you act from emotion, you pay a price. You lose clarity, you lose respect, you lose power. The world doesn't forgive emotional men, it uses them. The emotional man is easy to predict, easy to provoke, easy to destroy. He gives his enemies everything they need without realizing it. When you let anger guide you, you say what should have stayed hidden. When you let love blind you, you trust what should have been tested. When you let fear rule you, you hesitate when you should have moved. Emotion clouds the mind and cripples execution. That's why most men fail, not from lack of intelligence, but from lack of control. The emotional man is reactive. The powerful man is selective. One moves because he's provoked. The other moves because he's calculated. One wants to be heard. The other wants to win. The emotional one wants relief. The cold one wants results. That's why you never see powerful men argue. They don't need to. They know that silence punishes louder than words ever could. Emotion costs you energy. It drains your focus. It makes you chase validation instead of victory. The man who reacts emotionally gives his opponent information. And in this world, information is ammunition. Every outburst is an open file on your weakness. Every complaint is a confession. Every apology to the wrong person is an offering of control. Understand this. Power requires distance. Distance from reaction, distance from impulse, distance from the emotional chaos of others. That's how kings survive while common men burn themselves out. The emotional man destroys himself trying to prove he's right. The disciplined man wins quietly and lets results speak for him. You want power? Learn to sit in silence when you're burning inside. That's how empires are built, not by emotion, but by endurance, because power is never lost in defeat, it's lost in reaction. Comment this to seal it into your mind. My silence is strategy. My control is dominance. Reaction is slavery. Control is freedom. The man who reacts is ruled by others. The man who chooses his silence rules himself. Every empire collapses from within, not because the enemy was stronger, but because emotion opened the gates. Reaction is that weakness, and weakness has no place in the pursuit of power. Mastery begins in stillness. The moment you feel anger rising, stop. The second you sense disrespect, pause, because reaction gives birth to regret. The first impulse is always emotional. The second is always strategic. The powerful live in that second thought. The emotional never reach it. When you learn to pause, you learn to dominate. The pause is not hesitation. It's calculation. It's where you measure your opponent's intent while revealing nothing of your own. A man who controls his face controls the room. A man who controls his silence controls the outcome. Understand this. Reaction is what your enemies want. They want you loud. They want you impulsive. They want you to reveal what you think. Every time you react, you make their job easier. The calm man confuses them. The silent man terrifies them. Because unpredictability is the most dangerous weapon a man can have. True power doesn't announce itself. It waits. It watches. It strikes once, clean and final. That's mastery. The world may see your calm as weakness, but they mistake silence for submission because they've never known discipline. The truth is simple. The man who reacts loses position. The man who observes gains leverage. Every reaction is energy wasted. Every moment of restraint builds inner authority. The goal is not to feel nothing, it's to feel everything and still choose control. Because power isn't about emotionlessness, it's about emotional command. The battlefield belongs to the one who moves last, not first. So train your instincts, slow your breath, study before you speak. The world will push every button you have, but your strength lies in not pressing any back. Comment this if you understand the code. My calm breaks their chaos. Cold is not cruel. Cold is controlled. The world confuses calm for weakness because it fears what it cannot influence. But the man who stays cold under pressure holds the ultimate advantage: clarity. When others drown in emotion, he becomes untouchable. The cold man doesn't rush. He watches, he listens, he calculates. Every movement, every silence, every decision is intentional. While others are busy reacting, he's already 10 moves ahead. The world plays checkers. He plays chess with no emotion, no hesitation, no mercy. Coldness isn't about lacking feeling. It's about weaponizing it. It's about keeping your heart under discipline. Feelings become assets only when they obey command. The cold man feels pain but doesn't collapse. He feels love but doesn't lose himself. He feels anger but turns it into precision. That's not suppression. That's power. People will try to provoke you, to thaw your discipline with fake kindness or hidden insults. Don't take the bait. The moment you react, they control the tempo. But when you remain still, they panic. They start overthinking, second-guessing, breaking themselves, trying to break you. That's the cold advantage. Your stillness becomes their storm. In negotiations, in conflict, in war, the cold one wins. Because he moves when it matters, not when it's emotional. His patience isn't passivity, it's pressure. He lets the impulsive reveal themselves. He lets chaos unfold until it hands him opportunity. The cold man never loses control, he only changes timing. Understand this: emotion burns energy, coldness conserves it. That's why the emotional fade while the cold endure. Power belongs to those who outlast chaos, not those who scream through it. Be that man, the one who stands still while the world trembles. Comment this to mark your evolution. My calm is calculated. My cold is power. Pain is the purest teacher. It strips away illusion. It exposes weakness. It forces transformation. Every man who ever rose from nothing was shaped in the furnace of pain. The difference is, most people let pain destroy them. The strong let it sculpt them. You cannot control the world, but you can control your response to it. Pain is not your enemy, your reaction to it is. The emotional man collapses when things fall apart. The disciplined man watches himself break and rebuilds stronger. He doesn't cry for mercy, he studies the wound. He asks, what did this pain teach me about myself? Pain is information. It reveals what still controls you. It shows you where the weakness hides. The man who runs from pain runs from truth. The man who faces it learns how to rule himself. Because the moment you can sit in pain without begging for relief, you've already separated yourself from 99% of people. The weak seek escape, the powerful seek extraction. They extract lessons, leverage, and strategy from suffering. They don't drown in emotion, they analyze it. Pain becomes their map. Every scar becomes a reminder, not of trauma, but of triumph. Understand this: pain is not chaos, it's currency. You can spend it foolishly in self-pity or invest it wisely in evolution. When you suffer in silence, you gain depth. When you process pain through discipline, you gain direction. Every hardship you endure calmly adds another layer to your armor. The world watches how you suffer. Weak men break loud, strong men suffer quietly, and return unrecognizable. That's the art of turning pain into power. Never waste emotion, never seek sympathy, never show defeat. Turn every wound into weaponry. Turn every loss into leverage. Remember this and write it below. My pain builds my empire. Silence is the highest form of communication. It's not emptiness, it's authority. The man who can stay quiet when others scream holds all the power. Because silence makes people reveal themselves. It forces them to fill the void with their own weakness. While they talk, you study. While they expose, you calculate. In silence, truth rises. You see who's confident and who's pretending. The loudest voice in the room is usually the most insecure. The silent man knows that words are cheap, but control is expensive. Every time you speak, you spend energy. Every time you stay silent, you store power. You don't owe the world your explanations. You don't have to prove yourself. Let results do the speaking. When you move in silence, no one can stop you, because no one knows your next step. The unseen is the unstoppable. The moment they can predict you, you've already lost. Silence is not submission, it's strategy. The weak stay quiet because they fear. The powerful stay quiet because they understand. Every pause, every stare, every unspoken response carries more weight than 1,000 words. When you master silence, you speak directly to the subconscious. You dominate without trying. People will call you cold, detached, arrogant. Let them. Their discomfort is proof of your control. They crave noise because noise hides insecurity. You prefer silence because silence exposes truth. The world fears what it cannot read, and silence is unreadable. Learn to weaponize your calm. Don't rush to reply. Don't rush to defend. Observe, think, then strike once with precision. Because power isn't found in how much you say, but in how little you need to. Remember this law. Silence is the sound of control. It's the language of kings, the armor of thinkers, the weapon of the disciplined. Comment this to seal your mindset. My silence commands more than their noise. Detachment is the highest form of control. The man who can walk away holds all the power. The one who can't becomes a prisoner of what he loves. Attachment creates fear, and fear is the enemy of power. When you fear losing, you've already lost. The world binds men through emotion, attachment to people, praise, comfort. But the detached man, he observes everything, depends on nothing. He can be surrounded by chaos and still remain centered. Because his mind doesn't belong to outcomes, it belongs to order. Detachment isn't coldness, it's command. You can love and still be ready to let go. You can care and still stay unshaken. That balance between feeling and control is what separates rulers from followers. When you detach, the game changes. You stop chasing, you stop pleading, you stop needing, and that's when the world starts bending toward you. Remember this, power doesn't belong to the one who holds on. It belongs to the one who can let go without flinching. Comment this to burn it into your mind. I own because I can walk away. Power is balance, not chaos. The wise man walks the line between warmth and ice. Too much emotion, and you crumble. Too much coldness, and you disconnect from strategy itself. The ruthless balance is mastering both, feeling enough to read the world, but never enough to be ruled by it. You use emotion as fuel, not direction. Compassion when it serves control. Cruelty when it protects order. Mercy when it strengthens loyalty. Each choice measured, never reactive. That's balance, not peace, but precision. The world glorifies extremes. Power lives in equilibrium. The emotional drown, the numb decay. But the balanced, they endure, adapt, and dominate. You must be fire and ice in the same breath, able to feel, yet impossible to move. That's what makes you dangerous. Comment this to mark your mindset. I feel with discipline. I act with power. In the end, power isn't about titles, money, or noise. It's about control. Control over yourself, your mind, and your reactions. The world is ruthless. It hunts the emotional and crowns the disciplined. Every moment you choose logic over impulse, silence over noise, control over chaos, you rise. Remember what you've learned. Emotion is your test. Reaction is your weakness. Composure is your weapon. Pain is your training ground. Detachment is your freedom. And silence is your throne. You were not born to be another emotional slave in a system built on manipulation. You were born to be the one who watches, waits, and strikes with precision, the one who commands himself so completely that no one else can. That's the Machiavellian way. So walk through this world calm, unreadable, and unbreakable. Let your silence speak. Let your discipline define you. Let your control terrify those who live in chaos. Comment this to seal your creed. I am untouchable. And if this message awakened something in you, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications.